Hi, this session is all about balance and stability. It's a follow on from my previous session where we did some balance and asymmetric work. And again, it's really designed to help work the hip area, stability, and also work on the strength of each side of the body. Most of us will have one stronger side than the other. And actually, that's absolutely normal and super common. We don't need to be 100% balanced on each side, especially if our body is managing that well and all of our movements are nice and smooth. However, it does become a problem if, for instance, we're starting to get a little bit of pain, and sometimes it can be tracked down to imbalances. So let's have a go at some stability, and at least by the end of this session, you will be aware, if you're not aware, of which side of your body is a little bit stronger than the other. Great. So just going to start off in a nice stood up position, and I'm going to just transfer my weight to my left hand side of my body. With this, I'm just going to reach out my right foot towards the floor, pointing my toes, so plantar flexion. Here I can really feel my calf contracting and really push my toes down towards the floor. This is really hard on the knee, just bend the knee a little bit, but otherwise try and keep a nice straight position. You can see I've just done a little bit of wobble there. From here, I'm just going to lift up that leg and balance as I tap my foot round in a nice big semicircle around the mat. Try and keep your left hand side of the body nice and under tension. And as you transfer your weight around with this leg, you'll feel that the standing leg is having to balance in a slightly different way. If with your foot behind you, it's causing a little bit of a back pain, just bend that back knee. And then we're just going to end up coming all the way around into almost a curtsy. You might want to bend the standing leg at this point. From here, we're just going to sweep that foot all the way around, pop it to the front, and then draw it back. Other side, so weight bearing on the right side, popping that right foot out in front of us, plantar flexion, really pointing those toes towards the floor. From a side angle, you can see I'm really clenching my calf muscle here, really engaging the back of the left leg. From here, again, I'm going to find my stability, fix my gaze onto something that isn't moving, and then I'm going to slowly move that left leg around the side of my body, stopping if I'm finding that I wobble, if I fall out of it, I'm just going to come back into it, all the way around. Again, any back pain, just bend that knee, and then coming into almost a curtsy, maybe bending that front leg just a little bit, trying to keep your torso around square to the front of the room, sweeping that foot all the way around to the front, and then drawing it back, wiggling out those legs. Good. Now we're going to lift up our leg. So weight transfer on our left leg. Bring our right leg up towards our chest. I'm keeping a nice right angle here, flexing my toes here. And I'm just going to try and hold here. For 3, for 2, for 1. I'm going to take it out nice and wide, feeling a nice pull on my hip area, maybe on my hip flexor on the inside, my glutes. Every part of my body is having to work here, especially my lower part of the body. For 3, for 2, for 1. In this side position, we're going to then kick round to a variation of a one-legged deadlift. You can see I've got my back leg bent or straight, my toes are pointing or flexed. It doesn't really matter here. If you can lengthen out this back leg, if you can't or it's really uncomfortable, don't worry about it. What we're really working on is a balance here. So try and keep your spine nice and aligned. And then if you can, just tilt your body forwards, keeping your hips square towards the mat. For 3, for 2, for 1. Slowly drawing that knee towards your chest, dropping down. And then with the same leg, we're just going to do a bit of what we call a hip rotation car. So I'm going to lift that knee up. I'm going to sweep it all the way around, straight into my one-legged deadlift, bringing my knee towards my chest and then dropping down. I've just fallen out of that. It's perfectly normal. Don't worry if you do, just get back into it. We're going to do the other side now. So I'm transferring my weight to my right side, bringing my left knee up, flexing my toes at this stage. For 3, keeping that core nice and tight. So I'm tucking my ribcage in, lowering my shoulders. For 2, for 1, taking that leg out nice and wide. Feeling it on your hip flexor, maybe your right hand side glute, back of your left glute. For 2, for 1, slowly moving back into your three-legged deadlift, or your one-legged deadlift, excuse me, three-legged warrior pose. Shoulder squares to the mat, hip squares to the mat, bent knee, don't mind, toes, don't mind, just nice and active. And then try and work your torso down towards the floor, really noticing how this is working your balance on your right leg for 3, for 2, for 1. Slowly bringing that leg forward, bring the knees to the chest, dropping down. Same again, we're going to just do a car on the hip car on this side. So we're going to lift the knee up. We're going to sweep it all the way around, coming into our one-legged deadlift, and then coming back under control, bring the knee towards the chest. I almost had it there. Great, shaking out those legs. Coming into a slightly different balance exercise, and this is really going to test your strength on each side as well. So we're going to take a reasonably wide stance on the mat. When we're squatting down, almost into what we call a goddess squat. If any of you have done yoga, or a wide squat, tracking our knees hopefully over towards our toes. We want to try and avoid valgus knees, so knees curling in. Try and drive them out just a little bit. They don't need to be excessive, but keep that control with that leg nice in line. So coming into a nice variation of a deepish squat. So in this position, torso's nice and upright. What we're going to do is we're going to try and transfer our weight to our right side, lift that left leg off the floor. So I'm transferring over, slowly bringing that foot up. Good. From here, I'm going to control putting this leg back out again. So you can see I'm keeping my weight over my right side, bending down, touching that left toe on the mat, dropping down. Good. We're going to do it the other side. Transfer the weight to the left-hand side. Lift up that leg for 2, for 1. Slowly bending that left knee, dropping those toes, popping back. Good. We're going to do once more on each side, and now I'm going to try and concentrate and not fall out of it. So coming into that nice deep squat, shifting over, slowly lifting up that left foot, adjusting my body. 2, 1, coming back down again, dropping that foot down, sweeping through, coming back into that center position, and then coming over on the left-hand side. Good. You might need to use your hands like I am, emergency balance. And then just controlling that movement back. Good. To that nice squat position. Slowly bring your feet together. That is also going to challenge, depending on how deep you go in that position, that might also challenge your dorsiflexion, so your ability of your toes to come up towards your shin. So really the lengthening of the back of that leg, and also the movement in the front of that ankle. If that's really hard, the squatting down, then just keep your legs relatively straight as you move through this position. Good. Okay, so we're going to do it for front and back now. So we're going to have our hips facing down the mat or the space we're working. Take a step forwards with our right foot here. And this might, if you do CrossFit, might represent something like a variation of a lunge and then a pistol. So what we're going to do is we're going to just bend both knees, draw our weight forwards over that front foot, lift that back foot, hinge our torso down towards the floor, and then we're going to do the same. Quite hard, this one. Pushing back, maybe drawing that front foot back, lifting up. Good. We're going to do the same again on the same side. Nice and slow movements. The slower you go, the more control you're in. Then dropping that back foot, bending that back knee, lifting that front foot. Good. Bring that foot back to meet the other foot, switching sides. So left foot in front of the back, left foot in front of the right foot. Try and make your stance maybe quite narrow, because we don't want to be shifting too far over to one side or the other. It just makes it harder. And we're going to start off with the front one. So we're going to weight bear on this left leg. So bending both knees, slowly transferring over, lifting up that back leg. You can see I've just done a little bit of a wobble. Try and square my hips off to the floor. Slowly lowering down, Switching over. Oh, good. Lifting that leg up with control, going back again. Last one. Lifting that leg up, bringing it back in. If you're still doing it, don't worry, just carry on doing it. And then we're just going to do one last balance and stability exercise. We're coming into tree. It should be quite familiar for most of you if you've done anything like this throughout your lives at some point. So if balance is a real challenge for you today, like it looks like it for me, you can just have your toes on the floor, put the sole of the foot against the side of the leg. If you're feeling good, maybe place it below the knee, or if you're feeling really good, you can lift that leg up and place it above the knee. Just don't have it over the knee. It's a really easy place to put the sole of your foot over the side of your knee because it's an easy grip area. Actually, we don't want to be applying that force there when we don't need to. So if choosing a position of your choice, I'm going to go here because I'm going to work on my hip extension and hip flexors. So I'm going to drive my right knee out behind me. So I'm going to imagine I'm between two panes of glass, taking my hands together and then lifting those hands up towards the ceiling. If you can take those hands in together. That feels good. Try and have those arms either side of the ears, whichever position you're in. For 3, for 2, for 1. Keeping that rib cage tucked in. So not trying to extend the lower spine too much. And then we're just going to hinge towards the right hand side. So the bent knee side. Noticing how this changes where our center of gravity is and having to work quite hard on that left standing foot for 2, for 1, slowly coming up with control. If you fall out, just come back in. And then we're going to go towards the left-hand side. By now, your glute might be burning. Just try and hold on in there for 3, for 2, for 1. Coming back to center. Bring your hands out in front of you. You can have them in prayer, or you can hug, or you can have them on your hips. We're going to hinge forward, so stick that bottom out behind you. Keeping that torso nice and tight now, driving that right knee out towards the side of the room as well. 2, 1, slowly coming up. Now take your hands to the lower back and to your bottom, squeezing those elbows together, taking your gaze up towards the ceiling if you can, dropping back for 2, for 1, slowly coming up. Dropping that knee to the center and then dropping it to the floor, wiggling out those legs. We're going to do exactly the same on the other side. So come into the same position as you did on the first side, noticing what your balance is like, driving that left knee out now. So really opening up. Try not to allow it to come in. So your balance is more challenged. So try and bring it back in to try and stabilize that area. But try keeping it out if possible, taking those hands up towards the ceiling, reaching nice and tall. Hands together if you'd like to, for 3, for 2, for 1, hinging over towards the left-hand side. Imagine you're between two panes of glass. For 3, pull down the right-hand side of the torso. For 2, for 1, coming back up to center. And then going towards the other side. Trying to control that. For 3, for 2, for 1, back up to center. Keep strong. Hands down into prayer or on your hips. Keeping those shoulders nice and low, hinging forwards. Keeping that left knee nice and wide. For 2, for 1. Slowly coming up. And then placing your hands on your back. So the heel of your palm on your lower back, and your fingers just going over the top of those glutes. Keep that knee nice and wide. I'm sorry if my wobbling is putting you off. Fidget no hips forwards, taking your gaze up towards the ceiling if you can. Only going back as far as you feel comfortable. It is a back extension position for 3, for 2, for 1. Slowly coming up. Bring that knee back to center with control. We're dropping down, rolling out, shaking out those legs. Great, thank you so much for that session. You might have found it really hard. I was quite wobbly today. Your balance does change on a daily basis. So if you found it really hard today, if you do it again in a couple of days' time, you might find it much easier. And just accept that sometimes our bodies sometimes we wobble, sometimes we fall out of position, sometimes we don't perform as well as we should do. But just be kind to yourself and just recognize that, and your mobility will improve as a result. Thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you in my next session. Thank you. Bye.